Good morning, Patriots. How are you today? I'm running behind. I know I'm on time coming live, but I was cramming stuff to get ready for this show today. Lots of stuff happening all over the world, as usual lately. Seems things are picking up speed faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster as everything seems to be coming to a head around the world. Uh, Boy, there's a whole bunch going through my head. I don't even know where to start, really. Uh, but as you're jumping on, say hi. This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from Central Missouri. No wonder I can't see my screen. Let me make this bigger. I've got this minimized. I apologize. Like I said, I was cramming to get this stuff going, and I am not entirely set up right yet. All right, so make that just a bit bigger because I'm blind. There we go. So this is Mike the Patriot coming to you live. It's approximately 8:32 a.m. on 4/23/21, and we are smack dab in the middle of a prophetic timeline, the likes of which this world has never seen. Is this the end times, Mike? Is this the end times? I don't think so yet, but we're getting pretty close. Isn't that exciting? So, anyways, as you're jumping on, say hi. If you're watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook, do me a favor, share this video. Also, if you're first time watching me and you're not following me, go follow me. Come on, man. Follow me. I come live every day at 8:30, bringing you news and information from my point of view. You don't necessarily have to agree with me. I try to report facts as best as I can dig them up and give you my point of view. My point of view may be different than yours. My life experience may be different than yours. But this is the way I do things. So if you follow me on YouTube, please hit the subscribe, ring the bell. Also comment and hit the little thumbs up button. Also, you can catch every one of my videos on Rumble. Once I'm done here, I load them straight to there. And on my Telegram account. And it's important. My Telegram account is important because all of everything I'm doing to put these shows together, I put into my Telegram account, and then much, much, much more, because I can't fit it all in there. It's just impossible. I can't do it. I wish I could. I wish I could make a show with all the information that's going through my head, but we would be here all day and it probably wouldn't make sense. So I try to get concise and to the point. And sometimes I can chase rabbits, but I don't always try to do that. I'm going to try to post my Telegram link. A lot of people have trouble dealing with Telegram. It's new. I understand, but it's where all the free information is. Free as in freedom, liberty, because the rest of it is censored. And when I'm live on these two platforms that I can go live on right now, I have to be careful with what I say, or they'll take it straight down. So I have to talk around the lines. You know what I mean? But on Telegram, there's all kinds of information, free flowing and open, and you don't have to worry about it. As a matter of fact, as I'm sitting here, I just realized that very important part of my show that I was intending on bringing to you, I didn't even bother to set up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm stalling as I go and find this news article that I shared and see if I can't pull it up real quick. Let's see here. Where is it at? Let's see here. No. And I apologize about that. You're watching me try to set up my show live because here it is right here. Okay. So as I'm pulling that up, and let's make that bigger. We're going to get to what I'm doing right now in just a minute. And I apologize to you all for not having this already done. But man, I was cramming. I was cramming like crazy to get this set up today. So back to where I was. Okay, I apologize. Tell you what, what's happening around the world today, what's going on? Well, the first thing that you need to know is this, that Donald Trump is scaring the crap out of everybody still, even today. And we're going to discuss some of that here in a second. about why Donald Trump is scaring the crap out of everybody. Still, I mean, everybody, the world over, except for maybe Putin. But anyways, I digress. So, so I just want to start out with this video right here. I just think that this is hilarious. They're singing a little song. It's in another language, and there's an interpretation at the bottom, but there's some language in it. I apologize about the language up front, but here you go. I don't know if you can even hear it because I forgot to set it up. Let me start that over again. I apologize. Let's try it one more time. Here we go. It says, okay, listen up. It's time. I think it's time that you knew the truth. The world is run by 13 families that control the banks, pharma, and all media. And may or may not be shaped reptiles from ancient Babylon. And we don't know that for sure, except that NASA destroyed all the footage of the moon landing. And Mandela died, and they changed E to A, and Berenstein Bears with Stearns, and yeah, they eat kids. WikiLeaks Q, Kobe was sacrificed, Trump won, chemtrails, fluoride, 5G, oh my. Don't you get it? Take the doggone mask off. I'm sorry about that, folks. That just tickles me. You got to have fun in life, right? If you don't have fun, then what's the point of this whole thing? Really? What's the point? Why are we even here? And what's going on? So what I'm showing you right now is video straight from my Telegram. Watch this one. What is going on? What is happening there? That's the Drew Barrymore show, and they're showing you how they can be in the same room with each other when they really aren't. You don't know what you're looking at all. Watch that again. It looked like they were there together having a conversation, but they weren't. So you just have to really pay attention to everything that's going on. It's insane what's happening on this planet. I mean, insane, because we're going to talk about some other stuff. So, D.C., the House voted to make D.C. a state, Washington, D.C., and but D.C. statehood is unconstitutional. They know that. They just don't care. So I hope you got yourself a nice, hot, steaming cup of coffee to start your day off with. I know I'm going to need one today. Got to wet that whistle a little bit. Also breaking news, the Democrat Party files suit to stop the audit of 2.1 million ballots in Maricopa County. Why are they, what are you afraid of, Democrats? I mean, you won fair and square, right? All the ballots should line up with what the computer said, correct? We've already recounted it twice. That's the argument. You go through, we've already recounted it. Yes, they already recounted what the machine said, but they didn't ever look at the ballots. They didn't ever do a forensic audit of the machines using the ballots. We've already had 6 gazillion lawsuits, and every judge threw it out because there was no there. No, we haven't had 6 gazillion lawsuits. And it's never been adjudicated in court. They've been dismissed because they had no grounds. But no one's ever made a decision on anything that has to do at all with the courts. I mean, with the election, the merits of the case. So it's a bunch of BS when they say that. Oh, let's see. Also breaking in the world today is United Nations elects Iran to the Commission on Women's Rights. And somebody says, breaking, O.J. Simpson elected the head of women's rights agent as head of Women's Against Domestic Violence, commissioned by United Nations. I mean, really? They also put China on that. Have you seen what they do to women in those countries? They treat them with respect and dignity by wrapping them completely in black and not allowing them to drive, and you have to walk a few paces behind your man if you want to go anywhere. Pfizer is now saying everyone will need vaccinations for COVID for the rest of their lives. Well, first you have to get the first one. So I don't think that's going to happen. And then there's this. How do we know if someone's been vaccinated? Don't worry. They'll tell you. They'll tell you. Boy, people stop sending me message all over the place. Moving right along. So I want to get to a different subject now. We're going to switch gears and get to the topic, the main topic, the main thrust of what's going on here. Boy, I'm just out of sorts. I'll tell you, I was cramming trying to get this all put together. It's got me kind of disheveled, to say the least. But commercials. So, as you know, it seems to be that the media, Project Veritas was interviewing that CNN guy, and he talked about how they're going to pivot. They're going to pivot from Donald Trump is the evilest of most evils to all this conspiracy, QAnon stuff, now to climate change. Climate change is their biggest existential crisis. They're completely switching to climate change. And I'm going to start off with Greta here. She has put out a new video. And of course, this is from El Trumpo, or whatever his name is. So you know this is doctored up. But here you go.
Today, up to 75% of all emerging diseases come from animals. And as we are cutting down forests and destroying habitats, we are creating the ideal conditions for diseases to spill over from one animal to another and then to us. And we can no longer separate the health crisis from the ecological crisis. And we cannot separate the ecological crisis from the climate crisis. It's all interlinked in many ways.
It's all interlinked in many ways. We can't separate it all. You know who she reminds me of, by the way? She actually just, well, here you go. You get the idea. My precious. Anyways, so we got the climate falling apart around us. And the government needs us to help fix it. This one says right here, have you ever wanted from your yogurt? All I ever wanted from my yogurt is to know who the cows are. So this yogurt's got the name of all the cows on there, if you look at that picture. But this gal right here says, notice that they're all cows named with traditionally girls' name. There's a deep connection between misogyny and consuming animals. And then this person says, I feel like yogurt from a bull wouldn't taste quite right. Oh, these people are stupid. I mean, we are literally dealing with the lowest common denominators. I know they have degrees in education. I was just, I'm chasing a rabbit here. Forgive me. I was just talking to my daughter, and I'm proud of my daughter. She has worked her way up. She went to high school. She never went to college. She started working in factories. She worked her way up. She's very, very, very smart. She could have done very well in college, but she worked her way up. She got into receiving. She got into quality control, and she worked her way up with different quality control jobs. Now she's working for a pharmaceutical company in quality control, making excellent money. And she was here the other day, and she told me, she said, you know, Dad, I'm in there working, and I'm dealing with the corporate bigwigs that come down and help set things up or whatever. And they say, where'd you get your degree? She goes, I don't know. I don't. I don't have a degree. I told her, just tell them that you're like me. You know, some people graduated cum laude and you graduated thanks to Lordy. But anyways, she she says everybody around her has got college degrees, but her, and she feels kind of out of place. I said, that doesn't make you any less smart. It just means they paid the money and showed up. You've worked your way to that spot, and whoever hired you realized that you worked your way to that spot and that your knowledge comes from doing, not from books. Anyways, that kind of got me off on a little tangent. We got a lot of people with a lot of education, a lot of names next to their names. Doctor, physicist, scientist. Smart people, but they're really the lowest common denominator. I mean, just because you can't judge people. You stop judging people. I knew a man in this town. When I first moved to this town, I was working at a grocery store running the checker, right? This was way years after I got out of the military. This was 30 years ago. This man would come in and he'd be covered in dirt from head to toe. And he'd smell bad. He'd be greasy and grimy. His hands would be black. And he'd be buying his cigarette, his beer, and his dinner for the night. He was a single guy. Turned out he was a trash collector. He owned a trash collecting company. Many years later, as I got into the buying and selling of used stuff business, I was at an auction. And I watched this man spend $50,000 on tractors and pull a wad of cash out of his bib overalls and pay for it. Never, ever judge people. Never judge people, because you never know. You never, ever know who that person is. Anyways, moving on, back to the climate change, because the climate's falling apart all around us. I got another little video that I want to play. This one's a little bit longer, and I want to admit that I sped it up a little bit for the sake of time, especially if I'm going to be chasing rabbits all over the place today. We need to. So this guy's talking about what Biden wants to do, what the plan is to get to zero carbon by 2030. And I'll probably talk about a little bit as it goes. So here we go.
Summit, where Joe Biden announced new targets for the United States in curbing our carbon emissions. Among them, limiting you to 1 burger per month. That's right, dropping red meat consumption by 90%. You're only allowed to eat 4 pounds.
Just because of this, I'm going to go out and have a couple greasy burgers today for dinner. That's my plan. Or maybe not. My wife said we had to order pizza or something for one of the schools or something. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to go have a burger just because of this.
Per year of red meat at that point. This also included forcing you to own an electric car from here on out. And of course, installing a heat pump, getting rid of your fireplace or your any other heating for your home. All of these things, in fact, that we have discussed before when we dissected the Absolute Zero agenda that was published out of the UK. I'll leave a link to that long report below. And today I just want to run through briefly some of the ridiculous ways that it's rolling forward, both in the US and around the world. But not only that, John Kerry, the climate czar, has announced that it's not enough to stop carbon emissions, that in fact we need to get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, perhaps using, as California is proposing, giant carbon sequestration vacuum cleaners.
Well, what did you say?
As California is proposing, giant carbon...
back up a little bit further.
...has announced that it's not enough to stop carbon emissions, that in fact we need to get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
He wants to. Remember, I was talking about lowest common denominators. Yeah, he might be John Kerry, and he served in Vietnam, and he's a senator or whatever he is, Secretary of State now. Whoever this guy is, he's married into money. That's all that matters. He says he wants to eliminate carbon dioxide. Not carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is what when you lock your car in the garage and you turn it on and it kills you, right? Carbon dioxide or dioxide is what you exhale. It also happens to be what the plants breathe to make oxygen. If you don't have carbon dioxide, you don't have oxygen, which means you're going to die, you moron. These idiots want to remove all of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. If it's even possible, then all plant life on this planet will die. It will look like freaking Mars. Maybe that's what happened to Mars. You know, they say there may have been life on Mars a bazillion years ago. Maybe it's John Kerry's out there getting rid of all the carbon dioxide because they're freaking morons. Anyways, I continue.
Perhaps using, as California is proposing, giant carbon sequestration vacuum cleaners. Wow. It seems there is no depth to the stupidity of this agenda, but in fact, it's not dumb. It is a bid for total control over humanity and all activity on the planet. Let's talk about it. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast.
You said twice getting to net zero is going to be hard, really hard. But even if we get to net zero, we still have to get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. So this is a bigger challenge than a lot of people have sort of really grabbed onto yet.
Now, he actually said that we need to get carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Stunning hubris from these people. But California prepared to implement it nonetheless. From the LA Times, the clock is running out on climate change, and California says it's time for giant carbon vacuums, like this one seen here. As an advisor to Jerry Brown said, if you want to keep global warming at bay, you can't do it simply by limiting emissions. You have to sequester significant amounts of carbon. And at this point, we really should be asking ourselves, why is Bill Gates blocking the sun and geoengineering, and why are they trying to remove all carbon dioxide from the atmosphere? What kind of planetary terraforming are they engaging in here? But I don't have the...
Yeah, what kind of planetary terraforming? And who are they terraforming it for? I mean, I'm not into those kind of tinfoil hat conspiracies, but what the hell?
Answers to that. What I do know is that Joe Biden really did take to the stage today to unveil the new targets for the United States. Among them, as I mentioned, you'll be limited to now 1 burger a month, and that is in cutting our red meat consumption by 90% across the entire American.
I just want to thank God for Missouri, because here we are free. And all around me are Mennonites and Amish. And no matter what these morons say, I can go buy my beef from them on the hoof or fully slaughtered. And boy, does it taste good. Oh, and the pork too. Oh, you ever had pork chops like that big and like that thick? Oh my God. Oh, just saying.
Population. Remember, these are federal mandates, federal goals. And even beyond red meat, all animal products, not just animal source food, all animal products by 50% by 2030. It also includes making the switch to electric cars. Quote, more than half of the new cars
what the hell do you think we're going to eat
electric within the next decade, in this decade of action. It would mean 65% of all new cars and SUVs and 10% of trucks would need to be electric. And we're running at about 2% right now. So you can imagine drastic top-down measures of control must be.
If all these cars are electric, if we get all the heat sources to heat pumps, if we change everything over to electric, how in the hell are we going to power all that? The only way we can produce electricity in that kind of quality is fossil fuels, is natural gas or coal. Like Rush Limbaugh used to say, coal-fired cars. That's what electric cars are. Where does all this magic electricity going to come from? We haven't built a new power plant in this country in my lifetime because of EPA. These people are insane. This video goes on and on and on the same subject, and you're more than welcome. I shared this video to my Telegram page. So if you go over to my Telegram page, you can watch the entire thing. But basically, this is the destruction. I was listening to Mark Levin last night, and he said it. How did he say this? This is the destruction of the Industrial Revolution. They want to reverse engineer the Industrial Revolution and take us back to a time when we were an agrarian society without the agrarian. These people are insane. And I cannot believe, although they are the lowest common denominators, that they actually believe this crap. But maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know. It blows my mind. Where am I at here? Okay, I did that one already. What's this one? Oh, we'll get to that one in a second. So, just listen. This is our Secretary of Defense under Biden of the United States of America Corporation.
Today, no
listen.
nation can find lasting security without addressing the climate crisis. We face all kinds of threats in our line of work, but few of them truly deserve to be called existential. The climate crisis does deserve to be called existential. As NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg has said, our core task is to keep our people safe. And climate change is making the world more unsafe, and we need to act. The climate crisis is a profoundly destabilizing force for our world. As the Arctic melts, competition for resources and influence in the region increases. And closer to the equator, rising temperatures and frequent and intense extreme weather events in Africa and Central America threaten millions with drought, hunger, and displacement.
With drought, you
As
moron.
families risk their lives in search of safety and security, mass migration leaves them vulnerable to exploitation and radicalization, all of which undermine stability. And in the far reaches of the Pacific, rising sea levels and more frequent intense storms put individual families and whole communities at risk, while pushing the limits of our collective capacity to respond.
So here you have this genius, the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America Incorporated, talking about how the existential threat of today is climate change. All the while, World War III is breaking out around the world. You will regret it. Putin threats harsh response against nations that cross a cryptic red line. Putin is amassing forces, although the media is telling you they're pulling back now because they're scared of Biden. Putin shaking his boots because Joe Biden is, I don't think that's the case. I think that's misinformation. And I'll prove that here in a second, okay? But we've got Germany, France, Great Britain, all with troops in the Ukraine. We've got Great Britain with the fleet in the Baltic Sea. We got the whole Baltic Sea fleet of the Russian Federation in and now out. We got massive battle. Here, how about this? Just watch this video. Fox News reporting. Here you go. Oops. I was muting it so you couldn't hear it as I was setting it up. Here we go. Try again.
Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin telling the West to back off. This comes amid international concern over his troop buildup on the Ukraine border. Here in the U.S., one top military commander says the chances of nuclear war are actually increasing. National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin tells us about it tonight from the Pentagon.
Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a stark warning to the U.S. and NATO during his annual State of the Nation address to Parliament.
I hope that no one dares to cross the red line in respect to Russia, and we will determine where it is in each specific case.
Putin spoke as Russia continues a massive military buildup on the border with Ukraine. New satellite images show dozens of fighter jets lined up on tarmacs in southern Russia and Crimea. Top U.S. military commanders warned that new threats facing the U.S. have them seriously worried for the first time that U.S. adversaries may consider using a nuclear weapon as the, quote, least bad option. The admiral in charge of America's nuclear arsenal says it's the first time in history the U.S. has had to deter two nuclear powers at the same time, Russia and China.
I cannot deter with the leftovers of the Cold War forever into the future. That is a 70 eras weapon system that I'm going to have to employ against 2030 level threats.
Some Democrats want to scrap one leg of the nuclear triad, the 400 ground-based missiles currently in silos across 3 states. The head of Strategic Command says he needs to replace, not update, those 50-year-old Minuteman III missiles. Democrats don't like the price tag.
You know, we're currently spending $44.5 billion a year on nuclear weapons. And I know that STRATCOM likes spending that money, but I don't.
This is
The
rich.
U.S. stopped keeping nuclear-capable bombers like these B-52s in
Right.
Louisiana on 24-hour alert in 1991. But Admiral Richard warns if the U.S. scraps its ground-based missiles, it would have to rely too much on submarine-launched nukes.
And under those conditions, I would request to re-alert the bombers.
Putin boasted today that Russia will have modernized more than 88% of its nuclear weapons by the end of this year. Admiral Richard says the U.S. hasn't started.
Bunch to unpack there. Miss Communist herself, Miss I've never seen a dollar the government couldn't spend. Miss, we've got to have a living wage and give everybody 30 grand a year, is saying we can't spend money on nuclear deterrence. We can't spend money on our defense. Oh my God, we can't do that. I'm all of a sudden heard of a budget. We have 50-year-old defense system in our nuclear deterrent. Do you understand what nuclear deterrent means? It means if you blow us up, we'll blow you up, so don't blow us up. While Russia has almost modernized 80% of their nuclear weapon systems, including their hypersonic weapon systems, which we're still dreaming about. And they stole the freaking technology from us because of Miss What's-Her-Face, Miss Faux Indian over there. And these morons in this government of the United States of America, Inc., are threatening nuclear war. They're freaking idiots. But I back up. I thought of something while I was preparing for this. I've said in my previous videos, do you remember why we went into Benghazi? Why did Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton kill Gaddafi? They know? Want to raise your hand? Oh, it's because of the oil. They wanted to steal the oil. Nope. Oh, it's because of the guns. Yeah. They was running guns to the terrorists and creating ISIS with the guns from Libya. Well, they were doing that, but nope. It's because Gaddafi wanted to take he was taking his sweetest crude in the world, and he was selling it mostly to Europe, but not for dollars. Everywhere else in the world, they sell for dollars. No, he was selling it for gold. Remember the word, gold. He was selling it for gold. And he wanted to create, along with an alliance of other African states, an African Union like the European Union that had a gold-backed secured financial system. Their dollar, or whatever they called it, was going to be based on gold. This would have destroyed the worldwide fiat currency system that we now live under, that's collapsing from its own weight. Have you went out and tried to buy anything lately? That's called inflation. That's called Weimar Republic. Get used to it. Did you know that Putin, a few months ago, took the ruble off the fiat system and is changing it to a precious metal type system? And all of a sudden now we want to freaking nuke Putin? Hello? Do you see what's going on here? Do you get a sense of what's happening? Remember all those pallets of cash flown into Persia in the middle of the night that Barry didn't want us to know about? Well, guess what? John Kerry and Joe Biden, he calls him Joe Barry because it's really Obama. Just remember his mouthpiece talk. Yeah, anyways, are going to lift sanctions on Persia, meaning Iran, and send more pallets of cash to them to get them to renegotiate the Iranian nuke deal. No, it's to help them create nukes. So just remember, piles of cash. What did they do with the last pile of cash they had? Where did all that money go? I've got another video that I want you to watch. This one's going to blow your mind. This is from a guy talking about Israel, what's happening today. And I've sped this up just a little bit for time's sake. But just listen to this.
With Israeli News Live. And listen, I wanted to share some information with you, update you about the situation in Israel. I know the Israeli government is playing this down majorly right now, so they're not telling you what really happened. I did get 2 reports in, one from Israeli intelligence, one from Israeli journalist friend of mine there in Israel. The Israeli journalist that I know over there said that a surface-to-air missile was fired from Syria and fell near Dimona. As a result of the missile launch, alarms were activated near Abu Kiranat in the Bedouin diaspora of the Negev. At the same time, there were reports of loud explosions that were heard in Jerusalem and in Modin, as well as throughout the Negev, including Beersheba. The IDF said response that the Air Force attacked the battery that launched the missiles of the surface-to-air missiles batteries in Syria area, and the air defenses launched an interceptor of the Syrian missiles, but something did not work properly, and the interceptor was unable to hit the Syrian missile. Now, for those of you that may remember, I'd shared with you back in December that the Iranian government had given very sophisticated weapons and missiles to both Syria, Iran, the Houthi rebels down in Yemen, to the Lebanese Hezbollah, and also Iraqis. They have dispersed a lot of these high-tech weapons, even against Rouhani, the President Rouhani's request. Khomeini had given these weapons to their allies in the event that they were attacked by President Donald Trump at the time. So, that being said, this is one of the...
There's the Iranians giving missiles to all of their buddies all around Israel, Saudi Arabia, because where'd they get the money to give everybody weapons? We freaking gave it to them. Barry gave it to them.
Reasons why they were unable to hit this air-to-surface missile. Iran does have the technology that can evade both the Patriot and the David Sling systems. So that was something that really caught Israel off guard, and it is the reason why Israel is downplaying this whole issue that's going on. Let me continue on. He said the IDF says the Syrians, maybe even Iranian force, launched a surface-air missile, and maybe it was even the launch of a number of missiles, only one of which landed deep into the territory of the country, an SA-5 missile that flew within a range of hundreds of kilometers from the Syrian Golan Heights and fell in the Negev. He says the IDF does not think the purpose of the launching of the missile was to hit Dimona, but it's difficult to ignore the coincidences of the missile hitting a relatively sensitive strategic location. A source in Syria says that Israeli Air Force managed to destroy the batteries of the Syrian air defense, and 4 Syrian soldiers were injured, and there is damage to the property. The missile launched in the Negev region is a medium and a long-range anti-aircraft surface-to-air missile with a radius of hundreds of kilometers. In addition, it has a warhead of more than 200 kilograms without improvements designed to hit aircraft at an altitude of 40,000 feet. The missile has a very energetic engine and sometimes goes far beyond the range intended by the missile's battery operators. Again, I see that this is all being played down, and so I wanted to share that information there with you. Now, on top of that, just to show you how serious Israel is taking this, the information I got in from my contacts in with the connection to the Mossad group there says that so we may lose comms once this gets hot here. There was a couple of people that he knew that were coming into his place at night around midnight to pick up files and some military bags and uniforms. They're going underground bases for some days. He said, I'm waiting on them to get here, and they say I cannot go with them. Of course, he claims that to be racist. I will find out more where I stand and what I am to do once things kick off. He said, I think Israel will seriously bomb Syria or Iran. And he's not happy with his wife at the time. Of course, she also does a lot of work with the government. And he was saying she was brainwashed mainly because he wanted her to be able to go to Herzliya closer to the beach to get away from where they live at, which I won't speak about where they live at, but it is a high valued target for Iranian forces. He also said too that he goes on to say, I think there will be more bottles of water tonight. Oh, okay. He's just talking about where he's going to stock up on water and food and stuff like that because he knows the shortage is coming. And he says, I hope Israel nukes Iran and southern Lebanon and Syria, Germany and the Vatican and Brussels too. I can tell he doesn't like those countries. That's the head of the snake when it comes to enemies of Israel. I already know I will die in this war, so I'm just trying to maximize my, kicking footprint before I get bombed. I will stay in Tel Aviv and help fire and rescue. I think I'm not going to go up north alone and be almost deaf. I need to go work, and of course goes on and on and on and on. But the main point of this is that Israel is definitely getting ready. He did say that it will not just be Damascus that gets nuked. And he says, I think we are all going to be surprised to see what cities get nuked. So I don't know exactly where that information is coming from, but remember, Damascus does become a ruinous heap. As I've often said, it is not something that God is looking to see it happen.
Okay. So at the end of that, he's talking about what's going on over in Israel. And at the end of that, he's talking about Israel nuking Damascus. Well, that just is ridiculous. Isaiah 17 says, prophecy against Damascus. A prophecy against Damascus. See, Damascus will no longer be a city. It will become a heap of ruins. That hasn't happened yet. I've told you we're living in a prophetic timeline, and the world will not look the same in the very near future. And we got this guy, these people are crying about climate change. And that's the most, the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, Inc. is saying that that's the most existential threat. And we got nuclear war breaking out about nuclear powers. But wait, there's more. If you think, oh my dude, you're just stretching it. Here's an article now. A lot of times you get these kind of articles from these, alternative sources of news. And someone sent me last night one about Jim Comey being arrested. Okay, I'll take that. But there's way too much detail in it. Way too much detail. I mean, it almost talked about what kind of bowel movement he took before he got arrested. And I'm like, I don't believe this. There's just you're not going to get, there's too much. It's kind of like when a crackhead's trying to explain something to you. They just go on and on and on and on with all these made up details. So this ain't legit. But then last night I stumbled across this article. And this article caught my attention. Several world leaders, including Putin and Netanyahu, want Biden gone, and Trump appears to be part of the plot. By David Hodges. In all my years covering the attempted takedown of the United States, I have never seen such simultaneous high drama as we are seeing now. Amazingly, Biden still does not have access to the nuclear codes. On April 19, 2021, my day started at 3 a.m. My phone began ringing off the hook. As I reported yesterday, I received multiple reports that past Friday, so I've been the Friday before Monday the 19th, Biden was denied entry into the Pentagon. Biden was allegedly told that the order came directly from General David H. Berger, Commandant, U.S. Marine Corps, and a ranking member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and that General Milley was no longer in charge. Huh? I clearly stated on Paul Preston's show later that same morning that there was clearly smoke to this fire regarding the Marine Corps and Biden. However, I was not entirely confident in the details of the report. Now I am. 4 hours later, both Paul Preston and myself are convinced from different sources that this event did indeed take place. Additional facts have come to light as well. It is now coming out that Putin and Trump secretly met 2 weeks ago. Putin was aligned with Netanyahu against Biden and his intention to arm Iran with a nuclear capability. We just talked about pallets of cash. Both Paul Preston and myself have been informed that Putin informed Trump that he had stationed several nuclear submarines off the eastern seaboard of the United States. Putin is waiting for the fields of Ukraine to dry out, and then Russian tanks are crossing into Ukraine, where the Germans, the French, and the United Kingdom are waiting for them to engage in battle. We are talking about World War III. And you're going, oh, but Mike, submarines off the coast. Do you watch Monkey Works? For months, Monkey Works has talked about Navy sub-hunters off the eastern coast looking like they're looking for something. Hello, McFly. If Biden interferes, America will be nuked. Subsequent to Paul Preston's revelation, I have learned that many C-147s have landed in Ukraine. Is Biden giving Ukraine nuclear capability? What? What the hell's going on? We also know that Biden is being blackmailed by Ukraine over Burisma. I'm not surprised. He's probably being blackmailed by the Chinese too. Wouldn't you, if you were Ukraine, wouldn't you, if you were China and you had that kind of stuff, the kind of stuff that Joe Biden's son has received billions of dollars from these companies and 10% for the big guy? Wouldn't you use it over the leader of the so-called leader of the free world, Fo Joe and the Ho? The opposition to Biden has grown beyond the Marines. The entire military is feeling betrayed, and they are realizing that their ultimate fate is in the hands of the Chi-Coms, who are stationed at both our northern and southern borders. I've talked about that many times. Both Paul Preston and I have learned that Trump is operating under a form of continuity of government. World leaders are moving against Biden as well, as they know that the Great Reset means destruction of their nations. Some fear a purge of world leaders is desired and needed to implement the new order coming from the World Economic Forum, the one I was just talking about, saying that you're only going to be allowed to eat one freaking hamburger a month. I'm going to eat 2 today. While Trump is prepping several world leaders, he appeared on Hannity to prep the American people. His entire agenda was to demonstrate where Biden is taking this nation. This was a patriotic call to arms. When one considers what is happening with the insurrection and incitement of riot by Maxine Waters, it is clear to see that her job is get the race riot started by forcing the mistrial in the Cavan hearings, the ones we just had with that police officer, and he was convicted. But the judge stated that there's grounds for a mistrial. The judge stated that definitely this will be appealed, and he may get an acquittal upon repeal because Maxine Waters can't keep her damn mouth shut. Whether this guy did it or didn't do it, I mean, we go in all, I'm not going to chase that. I mean, we've discussed that many times. Hence, as I've already stated, Biden could call on his friends at the UN to invoke the Kigali, K-I-G-A-L-I principles. I forgot to look that up. I don't even know what that is. But he says it means instant civil war. More facts have to come to light as well. Over the next few days, 2 court cases loom large in California. I hadn't heard about these. I had to look them up. Both cases ultimately could decide the fate of California's 55 electoral college votes. What? Newsom clearly used illegal ballots, and all 22 million of these should be thrown out. He's talking about a court case that's working its way up the courts in California, that if it is ruled that those ballots were illegal, the entire state's 55 electoral college votes will be thrown out, which puts neither of the candidates as president. Hence, Kim Clement's time of the 2 presidents prophecy. If these votes are thrown out, Biden cannot remain as president. However, as discussed with a federal LEO, who is going to enforce the rule of law? The only answer would be the military, and perhaps this is why Putin is allowing America a few short weeks to get their act together before they nuke us. Also on center stage is the Maricopa County forensic audit. I have no idea. We talked about that just a few minutes ago, that the Democrats are filing a lawsuit to prevent that from happening. Why? If you won fair and square, let's count the ballots. It'll prove that you won, right? Putin has expressed concerns that fears of being attacked by China. One of his major fears lies in the fact that most of Putin's tank commanders are Asian. Some are fearful they may not be entirely loyal to Putin. So Putin's got troubles of his own if a push comes to shove with China. There's also an 800-pound elephant in the room. Why is Biden so determined to have Russia and the U.S. engage in war? Why? Why are we trying to pick this fight? Every time Biden opens his mouth in this arena, it's like he's trying to pick a fight. I'm going to take him out. He's an evil man. I'm going to take him out behind the woodshed. The answer is simple. If Russia and America lie in ruins, China has full reign to become the undisputed world policeman through the lack of opposition. China cannot project military power on a global scale. However, without opposition, it becomes a moot point. In light of everything printed here, does the fencing around the White House make sense now? People ask me if Israel and Russian soldiers will assist American military to remove Biden. I have no information on this, and frankly, I doubt the U.S. would ever accept this. However, tactical and logistical support is something else entirely. This is the stuff that military counter coups are made of. Think Myanmar. Civil wars have started for less, as have world wars. This story has many dynamic and moving parts, and it is impossible to make accurate predictions. One thing can be said for certain. The United States will not look the same come September or sooner. How many of y'all watched Brad Barton's show last night where that kid put together all the prophecies of the timeline of today, and he's talking about by the end of June? We are in a time unprecedented. We are closer to nuclear war right now than we were when the Cuban Missile Crisis happened. You see, because in the Cuban Missile Crisis, we had one nuclear power to deal with, Russia. Now we're dealing with Russia, China, Pakistan, India, Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Syria, all the European powers. Indonesia. Oh, yeah, they lost a sub. Did you see that? I don't know what that's all about. The world is falling apart. And I don't know what the next step's going to be. And I'm not even going to try to predict anything. But God is still in control. No matter what happens, God is in control. Have faith in God. He's promised to work this all out. He says, am I impressed with your weapons of war? Here we are. Come, Lord Jesus. I don't know if we can take much more of this. So with that, you guys have a great weekend. There's a lot to chew on there, ain't there? I hope you guys really do have a blessed weekend. And I pray for each and every one of you. And I do appreciate everybody that jumps on. Please share this video. You know how many people right now, their eyes are just opening up to this kind of stuff and they don't have any idea? Well, if you don't tell them, how would they know? Those of us who have awakened and realized that the world is not what it seems, that the mainstream media has been lying to us for our entire lifetimes, and that everything, Weird Al had a song that everything you know is wrong. Everything you know is wrong. Those that are awakening now are in for the shock of their life, and you're going to have to be there to help them. Share these videos. Share these videos because, you know, when God tells me to, I start talking about the biblical stuff and the prophecies and that kind of stuff. And the rest of the time, what I do with the news and all stuff is filler in between God speaks to me. It really is. That's what I'm doing here. So share my videos so that they can get hooked on the news and the info, and I can throw some of the other stuff in and give them some hope. You guys have a great day. Be blessed. I'm going to jump off here and get to work. Got stuff to do. Talk to y'all later.